There's often a lot of debate amongst filmmakers and videographers of whether you should use a gimbal or a handheld shots for your video or film project that you're doing. But here's the thing, there's no right or wrong answer. It all comes down to the emotion you're trying to convey. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan Luth. I'm a filmmaker based out of Orange County, California, and I run a video production company called Outlands Media Group. We use a lot of different camera rigs and gimbals and things like that on the projects we shoot for our company. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about using a gimbal versus shooting handheld for your shots and when to use which one. First things first though, you may notice a completely different setup here. I have officially moved into my garage. My friend Matt and I had a great conversation the other day, and he kept telling me to create a dedicated setup for my YouTube videos, and I have just been putting it off for so long because I hate having to set all this stuff up. And I was doing it in my office for the longest time, and then I was doing it on some other cameras that was a little bit easier, but the quality was just not as good. After much debating and going back and forth, I finally decided to just set this up here in my garage, and now it's great. Now I have a dedicated setup for everything that I'm filming and should be able to do things a little bit more consistently. And so here we are in my garage, and here we shall stay until I have a shoot and have to take all this down and set it right back up again. But anyway, let's jump into the video. So I'm gonna be breaking down how we shot our most recent video for a e-bike company called Fucare for the new Scorpio model. In this particular project, we used a variety of gimbal shots and handheld shots and used them very specifically throughout the video to sell different points of the story, as well as create some really dynamic, fast-paced sequences. So for this project, we used the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K on the Ronin S as I ran around with it and got all sweaty and gross, and the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro for our handheld shots and stationary shots. So let's quick take a look at the clip so we can see what we are talking about.
Finally got the belt, now I think I'll give it back. And 24/7 grind put me on the map. I think you probably should try to study how I move, that's a fact. Yeah, y'all lit the match. I got the belt and I ain't gon' give it back. Yeah, y'all lit the match. I got the belt and I ain't gon' give it back.
So here's my opinion on using a gimbal versus shooting handheld, and like I said before, it really all comes down to emotion. The way you move your camera throughout a scene can create a very different feeling depending on whether it's smooth and like a slow pushing or something, or whether it's more like shaky and kind of like handheld kind of vibe. So what you want to do is try and switch your mindset from shooting like a videographer to start shooting like a cinematographer. And what do I mean by that? Basically what I mean is taking into consideration how your camera moves throughout a shot or throughout a scene to bring out the emotion in the character in the scene and just help sell that more to the audience. And that's what a cinematographer does. With all their dolly move-ins and push-outs and all things like that, they're taking all those things into consideration. So I'm gonna give you guys two examples from this commercial that we shot to show you what I'm talking about. In this first part of the video, we wanted to create a lot of just like fast-paced, smooth movement to show that the e-bike is better than the original bike. Of these two characters, one kind of has it all together. He's very suave, he's riding through the desert, and the other one's very much struggling and trying to make it all the way through the sand and having a really hard time. I wanted to do this to kind of compare and contrast between the two characters and show that one is really struggling and one is just having a very easy time flying through the desert, and also showcasing the full suspension for the bike itself, which is the product that the video is selling. And then to really sell the effect, we cut to a very stationary wide shot of her biking through the desert, showing like how slow she's going, and then right away to how fast the e-bike is going through the desert to just compare and contrast the two. So I know that's not like handheld, but it shows how different shot movements can sell different emotions. Can you guys feel the difference between the two and see what I mean by that? Okay, so let's move on to example 2. In this part of the video, we used a lot of variety between handheld and gimbal movements to kind of add more diversity in our pacing and just kind of break up the edit a little bit more. I wanted to keep it like really fast paced and use some of these shaky little transition shots to make it feel like the bike was going really fast. What this did is it helped create balanced pacing, which sort of helped sell the effect of epicness, for lack of a better term. So like when you see the shot of the bike spinning out, that's on handheld, and then it immediately cuts to the bike flying by and the camera zooming towards the bike as they pass each other. That was on a gimbal. So those two back to back kind of create that diversity. Because the back and forth between the gimbal and the handheld shots break up the redundancy of like all gimbal shots or all handheld shots and kind of create more diversity in our pacing and sell the effect that the guy's going really fast. Here's another quick tip too. If you want to make it look like your subject's going really fast when they actually aren't, like for example, these bikes went up to 28 miles an hour, something like that. But obviously we wanted to make it feel like they were going faster. So what you want to do is have objects in your foreground that are moving past when you're tracking with your subject. So like if the bike is here and our camera's here and we're moving alongside them, there's objects in the foreground that are closer to the camera zooming past it and blurred out because of obviously our shutter speed is at 1/48, they're at a 180-degree shutter rule, and it gives the effect that the bike's going a lot faster than it really is because you have all these objects whipping past the camera. So in the end, I don't really think there's a right or wrong answer to shooting on a gimbal versus shooting handheld. It just entirely depends on what you were shooting, what your subject is, what your story is, and the emotion you're trying to convey in each shot or each scene. If you kind of view them both as tools in your toolbox for certain things, it doesn't become too redundant with all gimbal shots or too redundant with all handheld shots and it feels like just all shaky cam the whole time. But you just have to try and decide for yourself what emotion you're trying to convey in your project. So I recommend next time you're watching a big Hollywood film or something like that, pay close attention to how they move their camera throughout the scene based on what the character's going through, what they're feeling. For example, you might see the camera slowly push in as the character's starting to like realize something or think about something, or it's a very important pivotal moment for the character. We might have a slow push in, or maybe they're distressed and so now we're shaky camera and we're kind of following them around. Or maybe one character in a scene has more power than the other character in the scene, and so the person that has more power is all the smooth stationary coverage of them, and then the other person that's kind of like not having power and is lesser than in the scene is all shaky. You'll see this a lot in Hollywood, and they tend to do this, and it works really well because it helps convey what the character's feeling and just reinforces the story and what the character's going through. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy listening to my 2 cents and my little opinion on this, and just seeing how we utilize both of these things in a project, and maybe figure out for yourself when to use which one and what would work best for you. As always, if you enjoy content like this, consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you want to see everything we're doing with Outlands, feel free to go check out our Instagram too and give us a follow. It'd be much appreciated. But anyways, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.